If you are checking out this video, you're probably worried about your mental health or that of a friend or loved one. Whatever the reason is, this video will be helpful in helping you determine whether there's anything to worry about or not. Bear in mind that the information given in this video is not for you to self-diagnose, but to help you decide whether or not you need to seek professional help. With that said, let's check out 10 signs that your mental health is deteriorating. Number 1, anxiety. One of the obvious signs that a person's mental health is not the best it can be is anxiety. Of course, we're not talking about worrying about things once in a while. Every human being has issues which could lead to worry. This is about living in a perpetual state of anxiety and fear of uncertainty. When you notice that your worrying is constant and is beginning to take a toll on you and affect your lifestyle, you want to look into things. Anxiety can even lead to physical health issues like heart palpitations, restlessness, stress, diarrhea, headache, and shortness of breath. So it is a bigger problem than you might think. Number 2, loss of concentration and/or memory. When it becomes difficult for a person to stay focused for minutes at a time, it could be a sign of declining mental health. This loss of concentration usually happens hand in hand with anxiety. That is, when you obsessively worry about everything and anything, it's difficult to keep your mind on the present, or whatever you're supposed to be focusing your attention on. Now, it is important to pay attention to the word loss, because it suggests that something was had. So this has nothing to do with someone that has ADHD. If you notice that it has become difficult for you to be present and to stay your mind on whatever's important to you, that could be a sign that your mental health needs to get better. Loss of memory is also something to look out for. Of course, if you're not paying attention to something, it is basically impossible to form a memory about said thing. But even when you manage to pay attention, it would be difficult to remember details. You might start to miss out on important events and celebrations in the lives of people that are important to you because you forget. Number 3, changes in weight and/or appetite. Food is a way a number of people cope with their problems. For some people, they start to eat more than is necessary, while some others will abstain from food altogether. And this terrible relationship with food could be reflected in changes in weight. Changes in how someone uses food and/or drastic changes in their weight could be indicative of mental health issues like an eating disorder, depression, or anxiety. However, it is important to note that these changes could also be indicative of a physical health problem. So if you or anybody you know is experiencing these changes, consult your doctor. Number 4, feelings of guilt and worthlessness. This is a really telling sign and is rarely a sign of anything else. When a person's thoughts revolve around putting themselves down, and they keep thinking things like, "I'm worthless, nobody loves me, I'm a failure," etc., that person is on a dangerous mental path. Frequent self-criticism and self-blame is not healthy. Of course, it is fine that you're honest with yourself and can admit to yourself when you've not been good. However, if you fixate on things you've not done well, or cannot see anything good or right in what you do, you are certainly not being honest with yourself and are not in a healthy place mentally. You start to doubt yourself and your abilities and could even lose relationships because you find it difficult to believe when people praise your abilities or tell you that they love you. If things get so bad, a person that has these feelings of guilt and worthlessness could try to physically harm themselves or even kill themselves. This means that the person is suicidal and needs immediate help. If you or anybody you know is suicidal, call this number, 1-800-273-8255. Talk immediately. It's toll-free. Number 5, excessive anger and hostility. Most people are not just hostile and violent for no reason. So if you find that you or someone you know blows up unnecessarily, and it happens frequently, that could be indicative of a downward spiral in the person's mental health. Getting easily irritated and being difficult to appease are also signs that a person is not in the right headspace. And this is especially telling if this is happening with a person that is usually calm. Behavioral changes are things that you want to look into because people do not just change drastically and quickly. A drastic change in behavior that is consistent is always indicative of something wrong. Number 6, excessive quietness and withdrawal. There are people who are generally quiet and do not like to be the center of attention. These are not the people we refer to here. When we say that quietness and withdrawal could be signs of deteriorating mental health, it is usually about a typically outgoing person who suddenly curls into themselves for long periods of time. It might start small. A person would stop making inputs in conversations when they're with people, and before you know it, that person would stop honoring invitations to hang out. And when a person starts isolating themselves from other people, it becomes increasingly easier to stay out and occupy themselves with self-deprecating thoughts and feelings of worthlessness. That being said, while this can be easily spotted with a typically outgoing person, a typically introverted person could also show signs of withdrawal and excessive quietness. Introverted people are typically quiet and reserved, but they do have relationships that thrive on communication. When you begin to notice that you no longer have a desire to communicate with any of your close friends or anybody at all, something is definitely wrong. Number 7, hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. When someone hallucinates, they basically experience unreal sensations. That is, they see, hear, smell, or feel things on their skin that are not real. So they could see ghosts or hear a baby crying when they are alone, or smell strange odors, or feel a crawling sensation on their skin. On the other hand, a person that is deluded believes things that are not true to be true, in spite of proof to the contrary. So they could believe themselves to be God, or believe that they are aliens. A person who is paranoid, however, believes that they are being watched and or threatened in some way, regardless of proof to the contrary. They would usually try to put measures in place to protect themselves from these imaginary threats. Now, these 3 conditions could happen to anybody at any point in time. However, when it happens often enough that it affects one's lifestyle, it is really concerning and should be looked into. Hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia could be life-threatening if they happen excessively. Number 8, substance abuse. Most people that abuse substances like drugs and alcohol are trying to run away from something. And that something could be a bad mental state. The idea is to quiet the storms and find peace in oblivion. So once they try taking the substance and get that feeling of peace, they continue to chase that feeling and just dig themselves deeper into substance addiction. However, the irony is that substance abuse could also contribute to the deterioration of a person's mental health. That said, it is worth mentioning that food, drugs, and alcohol are not the only crutches that people rely on when they're in bad headspaces. Some people turn to working out, while others try to surround themselves with people by jumping from one party to another. It could really be anything. The idea is to do something excessively enough that you are either not conscious enough or do not have enough time to sort through your mental issues. Number 9, significant tiredness and sleep problems. A person that seems to always be tired, sluggish, or lethargic is probably not in a good space mentally. Granted, everybody feels tired or lethargic sometimes, and this could even happen for a few days. However, if a good night's rest doesn't fix this, or the person can't even seem to rest when they find the time, there is certainly a problem. On the other hand, sleep problems can manifest differently for different people. For some, the battle is with insomnia. That is, they can't sleep at all. And this battle with insomnia could lead to substance abuse if they turn to drugs to get themselves to sleep. Some other people actually do sleep, but do not get enough sleep. To put things in perspective, bear in mind that an adult should get about 8 hours of sleep. Anything way less than that, say 3 hours or less, is certainly a problem, especially if it happens consistently. But for some other people, the problem is that they sleep too much. These people try to run away from the issues that plague them when they are awake, and believe that sleep is the only reprieve they have. So they sleep most of the day and all through the night, neglecting all their responsibilities. Number 10, extreme mood changes. Every one of us is prone to having mood swings, and it could be a result of anything from external factors to hormonal changes. However, when someone is constantly having extreme changes in their mood or emotions, there is certainly a problem. Extreme mood changes could be detrimental to a person's lifestyle, as it could be difficult to get things done when your mood is all over the place. It could also be detrimental to a person's relationships, as people would find it difficult to keep up with the constant changes in mood. One common thing about the signs that have been listed is that they could happen to anybody without it being a mental health issue. For instance, one could be racked by guilt because of something wrong they just did, or one could find it difficult to sleep because of an immediate problem they're dealing with. The problem comes when these issues become consistent and start to affect your lifestyle and relationships. When should you see a doctor? If you've checked off a couple of the signs that have been mentioned, that is, you or someone you know exhibit these signs, you should speak with your primary healthcare provider as soon as possible. Also, that you are bothered about your or loved one's mental health is actually reason enough to get in touch with your doctor. It's better safe than sorry. So that's about it. Be careful to note, though, that just one of these signs might not be indicative of a mental health issue. Things sometimes happen that could make us behave or react differently than we normally do or would. So it's usually a combination of two or more of those things that is cause for concern. However, if you're seeing just one sign and it's affecting you negatively, do speak with a healthcare provider. Lastly, if you have a loved one who has talked about physically harming themselves or killing themselves, that is something you want to immediately report. You could call the Suicide Prevention Helpline, 1-800-273-8255, TALK. Speak with a doctor about it, or even speak with a spiritual leader in your faith-based community. But if you think you or someone you love is in immediate danger of harming yourself or themselves, call that helpline or call 911. Stay safe. We love you. Thank you very much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts, give this a like, share with your friends, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to keep you updated for more interesting facts, tips, and ideas from SmartVille.